Across the nation, there are hundreds of thousands of religious congregations. And as Lisa Desjardins reports, some of the biggest, known as megachurches, are facing challenges as the culture around organized religion changes.
March 15th, churches across America locked their doors. Pastors expected people to flood back when they reopened. But something strange happened. The crowds never returned. 52,000 seats at Lakewood Church now sit half empty. The megachurch empire just collapsed. And most people don't even know it happened yet. Let's rewind to March 17, 2019. Joel Osteen stands on stage at Lakewood Church in Houston, Texas. The arena holds 16,000 people. Every seat is filled. Giant video screens beam his smile to the upper levels. The worship band setup rivals any major concert. This is what success looks like in American Christianity. The parking lot outside needs traffic directors. The coffee bar serves thousands. The bookstore does millions in sales. Children's programs operate at full capacity. This single building generates more revenue than most small towns. But Joel doesn't know what's coming. None of them do. Across America, 1,600 megachurches operate just like this one. They're defined as Protestant churches with at least 2,000 weekly attendees. Together, they draw millions. Some have water parks. Some have rock climbing walls. Some have full restaurants inside. The line between church and entertainment complex disappeared years ago. These buildings cost hundreds of millions to construct. They employ hundreds of staff members. They broadcast to millions on television. The pastors live in mansions. Their books hit bestseller lists. They advise presidents. This is the American religious empire in full bloom. But here's what church leaders didn't understand. They built everything on a single assumption. They assumed people came for God, for community, for faith. They were wrong. In 2007, something unusual happened. Bill Hybels ran Willow Creek Community Church outside Chicago. It was one of the largest and most influential megachurches in America. He pioneered the seeker-sensitive model. Make church feel like anything but church. After decades of explosive growth, Hybels commissioned a study. He wanted to know if Willow Creek actually worked. Were they creating mature Christians or just drawing crowds? The results shocked him. The study found that church participation didn't create spiritual growth. People attended services. They volunteered. They joined small groups. But they felt spiritually empty. They felt like consumers, not disciples. Hybels admitted publicly they had made a mistake. People needed to feed themselves spiritually, not just consume religious products. It was a stunning confession from the godfather of the megachurch movement. But the machine was too big to stop. The buildings kept getting bigger. The budgets kept expanding. More churches copied the model. Then came March 2020, and everything changed in ways no one predicted. Robert Schuller conducts church service from the roof of a drive-in movie theater snack bar in Orange County. Cars line up. Families sit inside, listening through speakers hung on their windows. It's bizarre. It's revolutionary. It's perfectly American. Schuller understands something traditional churches don't. Americans want convenience. They want comfort. They don't want to dress up and sit on hard wooden pews. Within 2 decades, he builds the Crystal Cathedral. 10,000 windows, nearly 3,000 seats. Services broadcast on television to millions. His theology is simple. Possibility thinking. God wants you to succeed. God wants you to be happy. God wants you to dream big. This isn't fire and brimstone. This is prosperity gospel wrapped in positive psychology, and Americans are hungry for it. Bill Hybels is watching. Rick Warren is watching. Joel Osteen is watching. They're about to take it much further. The 1980s become the golden age of megachurch construction. Hybels opens Willow Creek Community Church outside Chicago with a deliberate strategy. Make church feel like anything but church. No crosses, no religious symbols. Instead, it looks like a corporate campus. Theaters, food courts, bookstores, services. Feature dramatic sketches and contemporary music. Messages focus on practical living, not theological doctrine. Hybels calls it seeker-sensitive. Critics call it Christianity light. But the numbers don't lie. By 1992, Willow Creek draws 15,000 people every weekend. Rick Warren launches Saddleback Church in Southern California in 1980. He's even more systematic than Hybels. He studies demographics. He surveys people who don't attend church. He asks why they stay away. Then he designs a church that eliminates every objection. Don't like organ music? We'll have rock bands. Don't like ties and suits? Come in shorts. Don't like long sermons? We'll keep it to 25 minutes. Don't like being asked for money? We won't pass a plate. It works spectacularly. Saddleback grows to 20,000 members. Warren writes, "The Purpose-Driven Life." It sells 32 million copies. He becomes one of the most influential religious figures in America. He's on talk shows. He advises presidents. He gives the invocation at Barack Obama's 2009 inauguration. The megachurch pastor has become a celebrity, a brand, a franchise. Then there's Joel Osteen. In 1999, his father dies, and Joel takes over Lakewood Church in Houston. Joel has never preached a sermon in his life. He's been working in television production, but he understands media. He understands messaging. He understands that in America, presentation often matters more than substance. His first sermon is awkward and nervous, but he learns fast. He drops theological complexity. He abandons talk of sin and judgment. Every sermon becomes a motivational speech with Bible verses sprinkled in. You're going to have a good year. Favor is coming your way. God has something better in store for you. It's Oprah meets prosperity gospel. It's self-help Christianity, and it explodes. By 2003, Lakewood outgrows its building. Osteen sets his sights on the Compaq Center, former home of the Houston Rockets. The renovation costs over $75 million. When it opens in 2005, it's the largest church in America. 16,000 seats, 2 massive video screens, a worship experience that feels more like a concert than church. Osteen's sermons broadcast to over 100 countries. His books become bestsellers. He moves into a $10 million mansion. The megachurch model seems unstoppable. By 2010, roughly 1,600 megachurches operate in America. Together, they draw millions of people and generate billions of dollars. Some build water parks. Some have laser tag arenas. Some offer rock climbing walls and bowling alleys. The line between church and entertainment complex has completely dissolved. But something is already starting to crack. Remember that 2007 Willow Creek study, the one that shook Bill Hybels? It revealed something devastating. Increased church participation didn't create spiritual growth. People felt like consumers of religious products, not transformed disciples. Hybels admitted they should have taught people to feed themselves spiritually, to read their Bibles between services, to develop their own spiritual practices. But the confession changes nothing. The machine is too big. The buildings keep getting bigger. The budgets keep expanding. March 15th, 2020. Churches across America close, not by choice, because of a pandemic. For the first time in generations, millions of Americans can't attend their megachurches. The parking lot's empty. The coffee bars close. The child care centers shut down. Everything that made the megachurch experience appealing disappears overnight. Church leaders expect people to desperately wait for reopening. They expect pent-up demand. They build elaborate online streaming services. They create virtual small groups. They assure themselves this is temporary. What actually happens is far more devastating. People discover they don't miss it. Not the way leaders thought they would. Not enough to come back. Churches begin reopening in late throughout 20. The attendance numbers are catastrophic. Megachurches that drew 10,000 people get 4,000. Churches with 5,000 attendees drop to 2,000. And here's the crucial part. The decline doesn't stop. As months pass and restrictions lift, the numbers don't rebound. They keep falling. Jennifer Martinez sits in her Denver apartment in November 2020. She's been a megachurch member for 8 years. Before the pandemic, she was there every Sunday. She volunteered. She gave generously. But now, watching the service on her laptop, something feels different. The production is still slick. The message is still positive. But divorced from the crowd, from the lights and music and energy, she realizes something unsettling. She's not learning anything. She hasn't learned anything in years. The sermons are the same. The messages are interchangeable. God has a plan for your life. Better days are ahead. Don't give up on your dreams. She starts reading theology books. She starts listening to podcasts that ask difficult questions. She starts attending a small liturgical church where the congregation is 60 people, and they read ancient prayers. And she realizes what she'd been missing: depth, substance, theological weight. Jennifer's story repeats millions of times across America. But the crisis goes beyond just people leaving. It's about to get much worse. By 2023, the data paints a devastating picture. Megachurch attendance has dropped by an average of 30 to 40% from pre-pandemic levels. But it's not just the casual attendees leaving, it's the committed members, the volunteers, the tithers, the people who made the entire operation possible. Saddleback Church, Rick Warren's flagship, faces a crisis. Warren retired in 2021. Weekly attendance plummeted from 30,000 to 15,000. Staff had to be cut, programs eliminated. The church that wrote the manual on church growth is now managing decline. Lakewood Church sees its in-person attendance drop dramatically. The 16,000-seat auditorium that required multiple services now has entire sections roped off. Watching Joel preach to a half-empty arena reveals something uncomfortable. So much of the appeal was the crowd, not the message. Willow Creek collapses even more dramatically. In 2018, Bill Hybels resigned amid allegations of sexual misconduct. Attendance dropped from 25,000 to around 7,000. Satellite campuses closed. The Willow Creek Association dissolved. Mars Hill Church in Seattle provided the most dramatic example. Mark Driscoll built one of the fastest-growing megachurches in America, drawing 15,000 people. In 2014, allegations emerged of abusive leadership and manipulation. Driscoll resigned. Within months, Mars Hill completely dissolved. All 15 campuses closed. 15,000 attendees scattered. A religious empire vanished overnight. A 2023 study found that 40% of Americans who attended church regularly before the pandemic now attend less frequently or not at all. Among younger adults aged 18 to 29, the decline was nearly 60%. The megachurch model was built on perverse incentives. Growth became the measure of success. Numbers became the metric of God's blessing. This created pressure to keep people happy, to avoid controversial topics, to make sure the experience was always upbeat and entertaining. The prosperity gospel fell apart when people faced suffering. COVID brought death. It brought economic hardship. And suddenly the message that God wants you wealthy and healthy rang hollow. There's also technology. In the 1980s and 90s, megachurches had an advantage. They could broadcast quality content. They had professional production. But now you can access the best preachers from your phone. You can watch sermons from scholars around the world. You don't need to drive to a megachurch for quality content. The democratization of Christian content eliminated the megachurch's key advantage. Younger generations want something different too. They're more urban. They're skeptical of institutions. They want authenticity. Overproduction value. They want churches engaged in social justice. They want communities that acknowledge doubt and struggle. The megachurch model wasn't built for these values. Some megachurches are adapting. They're becoming smaller, more intentional. They're selling massive buildings and moving to modest facilities. Others are doubling down, investing more in production and streaming, trying to become media companies that happen to have physical locations. But many are simply dying. The buildings are being sold, sometimes to other churches, sometimes to developers who turn them into shopping centers. The Crystal Cathedral, Robert Schuller's glass monument, was sold to the Catholic Church in 2012 after his ministry went bankrupt. The church that pioneered the megachurch model couldn't sustain itself. Marcus Thompson is 32 now. He grew up at a megachurch in Atlanta. He hasn't attended a service in 3 years. "I don't think I've lost my faith," he says. "I think I lost my faith in that model. I'm reading theology now. I'm praying. I'm trying to live out what Jesus actually taught about caring for the poor and loving your neighbor. But I'm doing it outside the institution that told me success meant a big building and a charismatic pastor. The megachurch era is ending. The buildings will still be there for a while. Some will continue to draw crowds, though smaller ones. But the moment has passed. And on Sunday mornings across America, in those massive auditoriums built for thousands, there are empty seats, lots of them. The question isn't whether the megachurch era is ending, it's what replaces it. And that story is still being written in small churches and house gatherings, in online communities and coffee shop conversations, by people trying to figure out what authentic faith looks like when the show is over and the crowd has gone home. The script ends abruptly with an open question and unresolved tension, leaving viewers to contemplate the future rather than providing neat closure. No traditional outro, no recap, no call to action, just the lingering uncertainty of what comes next.